You are probably a model builder if your hotel van driver gives you a piece of origami that he does as a hobby, and the first thing you think is, hey, that looks like Rodin. Or I could put a couple of heads on it to make a Ghidorah. Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Max's Models on the Road. Today I went to the museum ship, the USS Cod, which is a Gato class submarine, SS-224. And I also took some pictures of this torpedo carrier that I thought was kind of an interesting subject. It has a Mark 14 torpedo on it. And that way, if anybody ever wanted to model a ship, perhaps at dock or something, you could maybe find a vehicle to convert into one of these, or maybe scratch build it, and you'd have yourself a neat little something extra to put with your submarine. So I got you some nice detail photos. You can always do screen grabs. The boat has, and they do call them boats, a 5-inch by 25 caliber 5-inch gun on the aft part. Submarine skippers had great latitude on how they set up their ships, and this one is still operational as far as traverse and elevation of the sights. It's something that people can go, and it moves very easily. It has the right side does the horizontal left to right, and the left side does the vertical up and down. And I was able to, barely able to get the camera to look through the sight. This is one half of the sight, the other half has the crosshair, just to kind of give you an idea what they would be seeing through it. And this is the elevation wheel right here. Of course, it takes the 2 men plus a loader and a gun captain. And of course, here's a little footage of some other visitors that were playing with it. Give you a little distance footage, so it's just not me doing it by myself. And you can see the kids are having a grand old time. You know, give a couple of kids a traversing cannon to play with, and they're busy all day. And of course, here's some images of the sail. This is not the conning tower, this is the sail. And this is all exposed to open ocean when they're submerged, including this area inside this hatchway. A lot of people don't realize that here's the forward part of the sail and the forward 40mm Bofors gun, that all of this was exposed to the open ocean. They're called wet guns. This is the entrance. They did not modify it. This is the forward trunk, and you have to go in through it. This is the area under the deck outside the pressure vessel. There's the scuppers. It's all exposed to open water. When you go in through the trunk, you do have to use an honest-to-God ladder. There are plenty of handholds, but you have to be careful because there's nothing between you and down there but air and gravity. So once you get down there, you're in the forward torpedo room with the Mark 14 torpedoes. Those green things are, of course, the bunks. And, of course, they slept on top of the torpedoes. There's a Mark 14 torpedo. Just the glamour of life on a submarine. And this is the forward sonar, which is not the main sonar, but if the sonar guys were up there and they were under attack and they had to close all the hatches, they could operate this surface sonar from there. And there's another sonar underneath. There's the famous ship's head. There were 4 of them on the sub. There's the sonar again. And we had a record player in the officer's wardroom. We're up here in officer country. This is where the junior officers stayed, usually 2 or 3 to a very tiny room, and then 5 for the even more junior officers. Ship's office. And communications. Here's some of the gangways. We're moving through the wardroom into the galley area, and you can tell I was clearly not made to be a submariner, but if you're going to tour this sub, you do have to do it.
Or on the starboard or dry side. The Christmas tree or indicator board, the black panel with red and green lights located forward on the port side bulkhead, clearly and quickly displays the status of all vents and hatches. A red light means a vent or hatch strategy for attack. The ship's main gyro compass, used for navigation, is set into the plotting table. The large wheel you see forward is the backup or driver of the boat. Officers and crewmen stand watch over sonar, radar, the torpedo firing buttons, and Cod's highly advanced torpedo data computer, or TDC.
As you can tell, it is quite tight in here. Yeah, that's just as funny as on a submarine. Now there's a close-up of the Christmas tree lights. And these are some of the various gauges that are in the con area. There's a conning tower, and this is where they might be, that's the hatch out of the conning tower, and that might be commanding during an attack. And you can only go up halfway. They've got it blocked with plastic. They just want you to stick your head up there and take a look. That's the plotting table. And there's some more of the instrumentation. It's just all over the place. There's, of course, where the crew sleeps, and I believe they did hot bunks. And it's 3 racks that, of course, fold up. They don't waste any space. 2 of the diesels here, and 2 more diesels in the next compartment to run the generators. Engine room.
Big GM diesel engine, and as you've probably noticed by now, Cod is a very complex vessel. The best technology the Navy has here in 1944. Basically, the maneuvering room is the gas middle of the boat. The big shiny levers you see on your left control power distribution. The gauges on the panel in front of the control levers tell us exactly what our electric output is and how fast we're going. The skipper uses the motor order telegraph to tell us how fast he wants Cod to go. How fast is Cod? On the surface, she's a real speedboat, capable of traveling up to 22 knots or nautical miles per hour. Fast enough to outrun her targets and lie in wait to set up her attack. Underwater, Cod can make up to 9 knots per hour, but that speed would quickly deplete the batteries, so she usually travels at 3 to 4 knots when we're submerged, allowing us to stay under for 24 hours or more. And when the skipper gives the order to dive, we cut the diesel engines and engage the batteries. The most important thing to remember is whether Cod is running on the surface on her diesel or submerged using battery power, the boat is actually driven by powerful electric motors located under the maneuvering room. She's an all-electric vessel, using diesel-powered batteries to generate that electricity. If you take a closer look at the photograph of the maneuvering room, you'll see that one of the electrician's mates is wearing dungarees that are full of holes. That's because the specific gravity of every one of Cod's battery cells has to be tested on every watch, and the battery acid always manages to end up on our pants. Well, I have a feeling we're going to surface soon, so things will get pretty busy here in the maneuvering room. Hope you learned a little about what makes Cod go. So long.
And now we're heading towards the aft torpedo room, and you're going to see more bunks and torpedoes and stuff. Kind of looks like the forward torpedo room, but it's only got 4 tubes. There's their battle flag, and a picture of the one sailor they lost. That's a brass knife that they carry on deck in case that they cut their way free of debris. Scuttle bag for any important documents if they go down. And yes, they have bunks hanging from the ceiling up in the center too. There's a good look at the aft torpedo room. And that's a Momsen lug for escaping, and that's the hatch out. Well, this should be entertaining. Hey, Captain. This is the way. And here's a look at the bumpers on the aft end of the ship, and a couple of images here in case some of you modelers need some details. There's the hatch. And of course, here's just a couple of more pictures of the boat so that you can get your details, the capstans, in case anybody's building a model. By the way, Atlantis is coming out with a model of the Gator. They've actually had one, but it's coming out with 6 decal sets, and one of them is the USS Cod. So now I'm going to have to acquire one of those so that I can model the boat now that I've been on it. Well, after visiting the Cod, I went over to the Women's in Aviation Museum, which is right next door in the Burke Lakefront Airport Terminal. This was mostly just pictures and stories of the ladies that were involved, although there is some memorabilia. Of course, they've got stuff on famous aviatrixes such as Bessie Coleman and Amelia Earhart and others, and Jacqueline Cochran, and they have a picture of the Beguine, which is a P-51B that was obviously highly modified. I'm not going to go into detail on that now because I'm planning to do a video on it. So that's where we're at with all of that. It's free to get in. It was like $12 to get into the Cod, $10 if you're a veteran. And the Women in Aviation Museum is in the lobby of the airport, so it's actually free. And it's definitely worth a visit. They had some link trainers and some other stuff, some nice artifacts there. Certainly worth getting. It's right next door. It's absolutely worth going to. So that's where we're at with that. I'm going to just let some pictures here run. I hope you guys are having a great day. Of course, if there's anything here that can be useful in some of your modeling, just do a screen grab. That's why I took so many pictures. I want to thank everybody for tuning in this afternoon. I managed to wear the correct shoes today, so I didn't get any blisters. Guys, take care of yourselves. And as always, model on. A quick side note. On the way back, I saw this laying on the sidewalk. And I looked down, and sure enough, it was a painted 1/48 scale propeller blade from a model P-51. I don't know where the rest of the airplane is. I don't know what happened. I'm guessing somewhere there's a kid running around with a 3-bladed Mustang. But I was on my way back to the hotel from the museum when I saw that. And of course, all I could think is, model on, kid, wherever you are.